The moon hung low over the vast plains, spilling silver light across the rolling hills and the humble ranch where Emily had grown up. The night was alive with the quiet hum of nature, the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze, and the occasional distant call of an owl. Yet, despite the serene backdrop, Emily's heart raced, a mixture of anticipation and fear knotting in her chest. She had always admired the rancher, Colt Harrison, from afar. A man of strength, mystery, and unwavering principles, he was the kind of man who commanded attention without speaking a word. Emily had heard the whispers in town about his past, about the deeds he had done to protect his land and those he cared about, and every story left her both in awe and longing. Tonight, something felt different. Tonight, fate had conspired to bring them together in a way she could never have imagined. Colt's presence was unmistakable even before he entered the barn where Emily had been tending to the horses. The scent of leather, hay, and a faint hint of smoke preceded him. His broad shoulders filled the doorway, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that made her knees tremble. "Emily," he said, his voice low, commanding, yet surprisingly tender. She swallowed hard, trying to steady herself, aware that her heartbeat was betraying her composure. She had seen him ride across the plains 1,000 times, seen him face danger with a calm, unwavering courage, but never had she felt this proximity to the men who haunted her dreams. Tonight, however, the rancher wasn't the distant figure of legend, he was real, tangible, and he was here for her. The evening had started innocently enough. Emily had been finishing chores when Colt arrived unannounced, claiming a storm had forced him to seek shelter. The sky had darkened suddenly, clouds gathering into a menacing mass, and the first drops of rain had begun to fall. Emily had offered him the guest room for the night, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nerves. But now, in the dim light of the barn, Colt's gaze lingered on her in a way that made every nerve in her body tingle. He stepped closer, and with each movement, the air seemed to thrum with an invisible energy, a pull that was impossible to resist. "You've grown into a fine woman, Emily," he murmured, and though simple, the words made her chest tighten with emotion. Their first encounter of the night had been a conversation, a dance of words filled with subtle teasing, lingering glances, and unspoken desire. Colt had shared stories of his travels, the dangers he had faced, the loneliness of life on the open plains. Emily listened, captivated by his tales, each word painting a vivid picture of a man whose life was defined by courage, honor, and a silent vulnerability. And in that sharing, in that connection, she felt a spark, a warmth that went beyond mere attraction. It was the recognition of a soul that resonated with her own, a man who, despite his rough exterior, harbored depths she yearned to explore. When the storm intensified, the wind howling like a living entity outside, Colt had suggested they light a fire. The cabin's hearth glowed warmly, casting flickering shadows that danced across their faces. As the flames crackled, Colt's presence became even more magnetic. He reached for the firewood, his movement strong yet deliberate, and Emily's gaze followed him with a fascination she could not hide. "You work hard, Emily," he said, glancing over his shoulder. "You always have." The compliment, casual as it seemed, sent a shiver down her spine. She looked at him, searching his eyes, wondering if he sensed the storm within her own heart. The first moment that would define the night happened quietly. Emily had bent down to pick up a fallen log, and Colt had stepped close behind her, his hand brushing hers accidentally, or perhaps intentionally. The electricity between them was undeniable. She could feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the faint musk of his cologne mingled with the scent of the fire. When she looked up, their eyes met, and for a heartbeat, time itself seemed to pause. Colt's hand lingered near hers, hovering in that space where mere touch could ignite 1,000 unspoken feelings. And then, he reached for her hand, entwining their fingers. The warmth of his touch traveled up her arm, settling deep in her chest, leaving her breathless. "Emily," he whispered, and the sound of her name from his lips was like a caress, gentle yet commanding. The second encounter of the night was inevitable, as if destiny had scripted it long before they even met. They found themselves sitting closer by the fire, shoulders brushing, hearts beating in tandem. The storm outside mirrored the tempest growing between them inside. Colt's gaze softened, and he reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers grazing her cheek. The intimacy of the gesture, simple yet profound, made Emily's pulse quicken. She had imagined moments like this, dreamed of being seen and desired by a man of such strength and integrity, but reality far exceeded any fantasy. The fire's glow highlighted the contours of his face, and she realized, with a mix of awe and longing, that she had never truly noticed the depth in his eyes, the gentleness hidden beneath that rugged exterior. Words became unnecessary as they leaned closer, drawn together by an invisible force that neither could resist. The first kiss was tentative, exploratory, a meeting of lips that spoke of curiosity, desire, and an unspoken promise. But it was enough to set the night ablaze. Colt's hands found her waist, pulling her gently but insistently toward him, and Emily responded instinctively, her arms wrapping around his neck, feeling the strength and warmth of his embrace. The world outside ceased to exist, the storm, the night, the endless plains, all faded until there was only the two of them, caught in a whirl of longing and discovery. Their second union was more deliberate, more intense, as if the first had been a mere spark, and now the fire was consuming them both. Colt's lips traced the line of her jaw, down her neck, eliciting soft gasps that echoed in the quiet cabin. Emily's hands roamed over his back, feeling the taut muscles under his shirt, the strength that had protected so many, now devoted entirely to her. Every touch, every kiss, every whispered word was a promise, a declaration of desire and intent. They moved together with a rhythm that felt both natural and predestined, a dance of passion and intimacy that left them both breathless. By the third encounter of the night, words were entirely unnecessary. Their connection had transcended the physical, it was a merging of hearts, of souls, of two lives that had been drawn together by fate. Colt held her close, and Emily felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. The fire had dimmed, but the warmth between them was undeniable. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart, and realized with a clarity that surprised her, she wanted to be his, in every sense of the word. To be beside him, to share in his triumphs and trials, to be his partner, his confidant, his wife. As the first light of dawn began to seep through the cabin windows, Emily looked up at Colt, her eyes filled with emotion. I want to be with you, she confessed, her voice trembling but resolute. Colt's gaze softened, and he brushed a lock of hair from her face, smiling with a tenderness that belied his rugged exterior. Emily, he said, you've always had my heart. I've just been waiting for you to see it too. The words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, and in that moment, everything fell into place. The night had been a revelation, a journey of desire, trust, and love, and now, with the morning light washing over them, a new chapter was beginning. As they stood together, hands intertwined, Colt led Emily to the porch, where the plains stretched endlessly before them, bathed in the soft golden light of dawn. This land, he said, his voice steady, has always been mine, but now, I want to share it with you. Not just the land, not just the nights, but my life. Will you be my wife? Emily's heart soared. She nodded, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. Yes, she whispered, and the promise of forever hung in the air, stronger than any storm, brighter than any sunrise. Before stepping into this new life together, Emily turned toward the viewers, as if sharing her story beyond the cabin. Life has a way of surprising us, she said, her voice steady and warm. Sometimes, love comes when you least expect it, in ways that change everything. If you've enjoyed our story, don't forget to subscribe, because there are countless adventures, heartbeats, and moments waiting to be shared. Join us, and let every tale remind you that passion, courage, and love can be found in the most unexpected places. Colt squeezed her hand, their smiles reflecting a bond that would endure any storm. And as the camera panned out over the endless plains, it captured not just a rancher and a woman, but a love story that would be remembered, a tale of desire, devotion, and the irresistible pull of two souls destined to be together. The rest of the day unfolded like a dream. Emily and Colt worked side by side, tending the ranch and each other, discovering that love was not just in stolen kisses or nights of passion, but in the quiet moments, the shared laughter, the gentle touches, and the unwavering support. Every glance between them carried the memory of the night before, a reminder of the intensity and tenderness that had ignited their bond. And with every sunset, they knew that their journey had only just begun, that the plains, the storms, and the nights to come would all bear witness to a love that had been written in the stars long before they had ever met.